Hello, this is Davide Biocchi from Italy. Ciao ciao from Turin, the city where I live. And today I want to focus at some charts, especially the DAX one that we have in front of us here. As we can see, the DAX was inside a box. The box we could consider this one. Then we had this attempt to break up the box from outside, but after one day up, we had a very bad candle here, and the market came again into the box level. So, in my opinion, prices like 10,000, like here we have the support. Okay, more or less this is 10,000 points. Okay, and then 10,750 will be from this moment the resistance, and we have an additional one at a little bit up of 11,000. So this is a situation concerning the DAX, but something similar we can see also in the Euro Stock 50 that is generally very similar to the DAX. Again, we have a box that we can clearly see here. Okay, the box was moving from here to here. Then we have again this attempt to move up, but before the end of the week, the price was already inside the box again. And so we can see here that we clearly have the bottom of the box around 2,750. And then we have the top of the box around 2,900. And now we have a new resistance at 3,000 that was the one where the market arrived and then was pushed back by the sellings. Okay, so this is a situation that more or less we are reflecting for those concerning the charts of the most important European indices like the Euro Stock 50 and the DAX. But if we switch to other consideration in Europe, we can clearly see that we had today this PMI manufacturing that went on in Europe. And clearly, we can remember that this PMI manufacturing is the Purchasing Manager Index. So it means that this is a result of a survey that is sent to the purchasing manager of the most relevant industries all over Europe, Germany, Italy, France, and so on. Okay, so what we receive back is that the final points, the final, the final numbers are quite in line with the expectation, with the consensus. We had 31.1 instead of 30 for Italy, equal for the French, a little bit better in Germany, and a little bit less in Europe. So as we can see here, but the situation is quite complicated. Because when we think about the fact that the manufacturing PMI is around 30, this is terrible. And imagine that this is terrible for the European economy. And imagine that within 2 days, so on Wednesday, we will see something about the PMI services that is really more and more bad. Imagine that in Italy, expectations are for a release at 8, that for French it is 10.4, that for Germany is 15.9, and for the whole Europe it is 11.7. So services are really more and more, forecasts are more and more worse than for what's concerning manufacturing. But unfortunately, we must see if this manufacturing industry will produce product that later people will buy. And I think that the measure of the consumer confidence will be very important because we will see clearly if people will be ready to buy again after the coronavirus crisis. For those concerning Europe, we still have to face this month and to focus this month on the Bank of England statement. Imagine that within the last 2 weeks, all the most relevant central banks went through their decision. So we had the Bank of Japan last Monday. We had the Federal Reserve on Wednesday, and don't forget the words from Mr. Jerome Powell that said that he has never seen something like that in his life before. So that the situation is really complicated because he clearly said that what we are going to see is more and more relevant and more impacting for the economy than what happened with the Lehman Brothers affairs. So this is a problem that will go through and will be more and more complicated. And similar words were used by Christine Lagarde, that said something like that we have never seen, except inside or after the wars, something similar in Europe in the last 70 years. So it's really something strange, but we will have to face a clear, delicate situation. We have now other central banks, like the New Zealand one this week, and also the Bank of England. And what we expect is that the Bank of England will tell us something more about the economy. Don't forget that the UK economy is in the delicate, let me say, travel from the after the Brexit, from the European Union to going by herself, so by itself. So this is a complicated situation, and we will know from the words of a governor of the Bank of England what is the real state of the UK economy. And to be honest, if we have a look at what is more relevant, we can have a look at the pound, and we can compare the pound to the US dollar. This is the cable, one of the more important currencies pair worldwide. And as we can see, during the period in which the market were impacted by the coronavirus, the pound really collapsed compared to the dollar, let me say directly to 1.15. Imagine that during the beginning of the year, it remained really for the most of the time over 1.130, and there was also an attempt to break out 135. So it's really something, what is going on is really very important for the pound. We will wait for the for the Bank of England to tell us something concerning all these things. And what it's easy to understand is that now the pound and the cable is trying to find an equilibrium between 1.26 more or less here and 1.23 more or less around here. So it's something that we can expect to continue, because I do not expect the Bank of England to say something so relevant and so different from what Jerome Powell and Christine Lagarde told us. So I expect this currency pair to remain inside this level for maybe such a quite long period of time, because I can't see in let me say short term any different decision from the central banks to come. This is what I expect this. And then I will finally tell you something about the situation here in Italy. We have the Italian index that is, if you see here, that is also reacting from the recovering from the collapse that we have seen in March. Imagine that we had something like that Amazon reacted like this, that the Nasdaq reacted like this, S&P reacted like this, DAX reacted like this, Eurostop reacted like this, Italian market is like this, as you can see, Spanish market is like this, and Italian banks are more or less reacting like this. So this is quite interesting, because it tells us something very important, that the market was quite equal when collapsing down, but the recovery after was very, let me say, was like Darwin, was a clear selection. Some stocks were bought very intensively, like Amazon. Some market, like the Nasdaq, the market of the technology, was bought intensively. Other markets were bought not so intensively. Investors, global investors, preferred technology, and especially US technology, instead of European markets, okay? And they especially dislike for investment Italy, Spain, and especially Italian and Spanish banks, because they probably think that they can have some problems in the future. So this is a very clear situation that we can see from the charts, And we will go through this maybe in some of the next meeting that I will have with you. So don't forget that on Friday we will have a payrolls, and the unemployment in US is expected to reach 16%. Yes, guys, 16%, incredible number. But we will go through on Thursday. So bye-bye from Italy and see you soon. Ciao, ciao from Davide.